goal! Side of goal! And what a goal!
What's the bleeding story? How yous all doing? Del Boy is back in the building. Have been missing for a while. I've been fucking busy. That's the bleeding honest truth. Sorry, just doing about 8 million things here at once. But no, thank you for joining me on this show. Hopefully it's a good one. We'll hit this. Please do smash the granny out with that like button. Subscribe if you're new. I really do appreciate it. We're going to do a call-in show and shite like that. And who wants to join? The link is in the description there. Jump in, say hello, tell me to fuck off, do whatever you want. You know what I mean? All is welcome here. I just wanted to sort of, let's say, talk about the Man United game, the pre-season, and the Barcelona game, transfers, stuff like that. Who's been linked with us, who's coming, who's not. Let's talk about the Man United game. And then we'll get into the Barcelona game. So, look, the Man United game, they roughed Arsenal up, and fair play to them. I have to give it to them. I have to give it to United, fair play, because it shouldn't be any game against Arsenal United shouldn't be a friendly in my eyes, because I've lived through the Invincibles, the United treble winning team, you know, the great Man United teams, the great Arsenal teams, and every time they played, there was war, which I love, and it's about football at the end of the day, and it's not about pansying around the field and hugging and kissing each other and swapping jerseys and sort of stuff like that. I love the old style of football back then. Like, I know, look, come here, Del, you're old, get over it, mate, get on with it, stuff like that. But look, it is what it is. But United roughed us up, and fair play to them. As you say, it was a tough game. United got stuck in. That Martinez guy, and I'm seeing a lot of Arsenal fans giving out about him and stuff like this. But yeah, like if I'm on the pitch and I was playing against him, I'd go straight through him. You know what I mean? That's the way I'd work with him. Toughen him up, and it'd soon settle him down. But nowadays there's not that hard tackling player out there, like a leader and stuff like that. That like you can will demand that off the Arsenal team and stuff like that. But look, United got stuck in, and fair enough. And Arsenal says, right, we need to step it up, and they did against Barcelona. They toughed it up. Xavi was crying, stuff like that. And it was Barca's first game back in pre-season, so I understand that. They weren't at the level that Arsenal were. It was coming into their third game, but we played against United, and they certainly set the tempo. Does it mean United are going to be challenging for the league? I don't think so. No, I really don't think so. But they gave us a wake-up call. They definitely gave us a wake-up call, and we needed it in pre-season, because we now have the Emirates Cup, and then you're into the Community Shield. It's setting the marker out. Who's ready for action? Is Arsenal ready? What way are we at it? So fair play to United for that. I'm just going to add in that my senior correspondent, and I haven't talked to you all summer, mate. How are you doing? And before we get started, before you even say a fucking word, your videos of looking at you in the gym and stuff like that has got me off my ass, and I've got into the gym, and I swear to God, I'm not messing with you. I've been flat out the last few weeks in the gym, giving it loads, and I was just thinking of you at the start going, Manny, this is for you, brother.
Oh, mate, listen. I mean, you don't need anyone to inspire you to go. I mean, it's sort of your own self-motivation, really. And I suppose when you get to my age, one of the reasons why I go these days is sort of to take better care of my health, but also to make sure that I make up for lost time. And far from being an inspiration, I'm more of a cautionary tale, because when I was a young'un, I was never really into fitness in that respect. I did enjoy playing sports, but I wasn't the biggest fan of exercise in a way. My dad used to, read me the riot acts every now and then, telling me, son, you need to make sure you get off your ass and start moving about a lot more. And the fact that you can't do that one of these days you're going to regret it. And I do look back on my teenage years, my 20s, and my and I think to myself, Dad was right. I should have really started to apply myself a lot more, started to really improve myself. But there's no time better than now to make up for lost time. And if it, gets you working in a way, then all the better. And I mean, I know that you don't need to convince me of anything. I trust you. I know you've been working. I know you've said everything. And it's been good. It's a coping mechanism in some ways. In other ways, it's just a means of trying to test yourself, go on a bit further. A wise person once said, "Don't limit your challenges, challenge your limits." And yet, when you and I are both in our 40s, we know that sometimes we know when our body can't take anymore, and so we're the best judges. But as long as we have some life in us, let's challenge our limits. So, in a nutshell, thanks a lot for the compliment. Wonderful to see you again. It has been a long time, and yeah, that's the crack. That's the bleeding story.
Yeah, good man. And here, just to clear things up, I have been going to the gym and stuff like that.
Mate, I believe you. I'm not saying otherwise. And you do look good. You do look good.
I'm not talking about you. It's probably people in the chat and probably slagging me because I have a pint of Guinness here beside me. But
to heck with them. Work hard, party hard. You know the drill. And I know you do it responsibly. And your choice is always good. You never go wrong with a Guinness.
Yeah, there's plenty of iron in it, so it helps me out. You know what I mean?
Hey, in fact, my brother-in-law's grandmom, mother, actually had some Guinness while she was pregnant with her daughter, who went on to give birth to my brother-in-law. So, yeah, it is good for you. Yeah, but in moderation, do not drink Guinness to protect your health. And we're not supposed to be promoting alcohol anyway. But... yeah, so I was listening to what you said about the game, and sadly, I wasn't able to watch it. Normally, I would get up and try and watch it if I can, but obviously, I'll have to watch it on the streaming device. I did catch some of the highlights, and I must say, given the strength of the lineup that Barca put out, I'm quite happy with our performance. And I thought, some of our players had good games. Saka missing another penalty didn't really help, and it was good to see Fabio Vieira score a goal, but it still doesn't change the perception and opinion that a lot of people rightly have, namely that he does need to start bulking up a little bit. I only hope that this season he starts to really, really, take things a lot more seriously, because I will give Arteta some credit. There is some talent. Arteta and Eddie deserve some credit. There is some talent in some of the purchases we make. The only problem is we just don't see enough of it. And I don't know if that's necessarily down to the tactics of the manager or whether or not the players are really ready for this sort of an environment. Meaningless friendly, Havertz score. Where did Havertz score from? Not left midfield, take note. As always, Mr. Sullivan with his high standards. And he has a point. I mean, I wouldn't go so far to call it necessarily a meaningless friendly, because preseason games are, just tune-ups for the season. How many times do we win the Emirates Cup only to end up coming a cropper when it comes to the regular season? So it's a good way to see some of the boys play. And, if we were willing to slag them off after the loss to Manchester United, I think we also have to credit some of them. Credit them and say, they did what they had to do with the opposition in front of them. I think you did say that it was Barcelona's first game, so some of their players looked a bit rusty. Maybe Gundogan looked a little bit slightly off the pace, but obviously, Niall, lovely to see you, mate. Yeah. And he might have looked a bit off the pace, maybe a bit rusty, but obviously, this is just preseason is just a means of shaking off some of the rust and getting it. Early doors football. Tony, I am good, dear sir. Thank you very much indeed for hopping on. And so as you and I can agree, it's just a means of shaking off that rust and just getting yourself into the groove and trying to form a sort of a combination and just see which players you can trust and which players you can't, and which players clearly don't really have much of a future. And one of the oddest cases has to be Kieran Tierney. He comes on as a substitute in the second half and plays and does really well. A terrific assist for, I believe it was our fourth goal, if I'm not wrong. And
Trossard's,
yeah. So he does his job, and he's absolutely fantastic. And when we see him play for Scotland alongside Robertson from Liverpool, he also gives it his best. And this is going to be a crucial season for him. because on one school of thought might say that Arsenal are doing him a favour by keeping him fresh and fit so that he can turn out for Scotland a lot more. But another school of thought says no, he needs to be playing a little bit more regularly and being able to show what he can do. Because if he isn't playing regularly, then Steve Clarke might have a bit of a problem on his hands. He can't just pick Tierney in the squad if he's a little bit rusty. So we all love the bloke, an absolute diamond. And yet we do worry about what's going to happen to him this season. Will he end up leaving just before the regular season to join the beginning of the season to join another club, or will he somehow stay with us? Because when you start the likes of Jakub Kiwior and Jurrien Timber ahead of him in that left-back position, I just look at myself and think, what the hell is Arteta playing at? And somehow he gets away with it. So it's not because of those tactics, but in spite of those tactics. Tomiyasu against Liverpool all over again. But I think there will be some games like the Emirates Cup games and also the Community Shield, as you mentioned, where the biggest fine-tuning will probably take place. So maybe by those games, Arteta will have an idea of what his starting 11 should be.
Yeah, I hope so. And he was asked, I looked at the press conference after the game, and he was asked by a reporter, what's the story of Balogun? How come you haven't started him? In any of the games, really. I think the first game against the MLS All-Star team, he should have started him then. I was a bit pissed off that he didn't start him, because we all know what Eddie can do. You know what I mean? Everyone knows now at this stage.
We all know what he can't do, actually.
Well, yeah, more than likely. Yeah, exactly, yeah. But 100%. But, give the guy a chance. But to be honest with you, in the press conference, sorry, I'll just go back to that. He was told he has a toe injury or something like that, and he didn't want to risk him and stuff. And that's fair enough. But for the first game or two, he didn't have that injury. Start him. Let's have a look at him. You know what I mean? And as you rightly said there about Tierney, Timber now is on the left-hand side. He started on the left-hand side last night. You know what I mean? That's a slap in the face to Tierney. I'd say that was probably, for me, the final nail in the coffin. He's onto his agent now, surely, and just going, look, it's done here. Get me to Newcastle, get me to back to Celtic, whatever. He's only going to be a backup player at this stage. At his level, he's a top-class player. He should be playing week in, week out, and he probably would be on any other team. He doesn't fit the Arteta system, and I'll talk about that later on. But I think he does fit it. I think now we'll be found out. We were found out against United, okay? The United game. Now, I only seen the highlights, but I watched loads of different highlights, so I got a good gist of the game, But what I was seeing is with Timber on the right-hand side, he was trying to get him to do what Zinchenko done last year on the left-hand side. So he's trying that now on the right-hand side. Obviously, he'll try Zinchenko on the left-hand side. That just leaves a big space in behind these guys when they're going forward. And United exploited that. United got their first goal, I think, because of that. Well, Timber went out. He lost the ball. He was out of position. They went in over the top, just the ball in over the top, and went on and scored. That worries me coming into the season. Now, I know, relax, everyone. It's pre-season. Delhi's trying stuff. I understand that. But let's just try something. I don't know. There has to be something else we have to try. I think we have a guy here in the building who'll know what we need to try. And there's Mr. Warren. How are you doing, Warren?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, all good. Just saying, me and the guy beside me here, we've been in the gym, rocking it out, flexing the pecs, everything like that. But
yeah, sorry, I'm a bit late. I got confused with the time.
Here, don't worry about it. We're on American time, Irish time, UK time, Indian time. We're all over the place. But
I just heard you talking about.
Yeah, about Timber. What I was just saying is he seems to be doing his role in the Zinchenko role, but on the right-hand side for the United game. And he was pulled into the sort of middle area, just sitting on front of the, let's say, who was Saliba and stuff like that. It's leaving a hole at the back behind him. And United just kicked the ball in over the top and we were exposed. If they're doing that on the left-hand side and the right-hand side, what would you be comfortable going into the season that way?
No, not in the slightest. Because the last 2 games now, when we played serious opposition, because I don't look at that MLS game as a serious game because they're probably National League level, if that. But Manchester United and Barcelona, between the two of them, have scored 5 goals against us in 2 games. And it's going down the same route that we had from the Liverpool away game last season. We were letting in 2, 3, nearly every week. And it's continuing on. And this is what...
Yeah, go ahead.
I think your volume might be affected, Warren. Can you hear us?
Can you hear us, Warren?
You're on mute, I think. You're on mute.
Okay, I'm going to go off and come back in again.
We can hear you now, perfect.
Oh, you can hear me now? Yeah. Okay, so what I was saying is it concerns me because it's a continuation of what we saw from the 9th of April last year when we played Liverpool away. And we were letting in 2s and 3s every single week. And I don't know if you saw that message I sent out a few days ago when I was saying, look, if we continue on down this path, we're going to have 3rd and 4th worst defensive record in the league.
Yeah. What? I know.
What's that about being wet behind the ears?
That's talking about Del and me.
Yeah. We were just saying we're both in our early 40s. We're still only young. Right. Good one, Jez.
And now he knows why I call him Sir.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's a concern. The good thing is that it doesn't look like we're losing Thomas Partey.
Yeah,
for me, that's a massive, massive boost. And the fact that we seem to be scoring quite freely as well is a good thing. But this business about the inverted fullback, it really concerns me because it's leading that teams have worked it out and we're just conceding goals like no one's business.
Yeah. It's like, see, the thing about it is, he was asked in the press conference as well, right, Manny? And I want to ask you this, right? He was asked about Haaland's going to score Man City 40, nearly 50 goals a season. Let's all be honest about it. That he will again. You know what I mean? He's that quality of player. And he was asked, Jesus will not score us half that. We'd be lucky even if he did score half of it. Yeah. But your man says it seems that the other players are sort of helping along with all the goals that need and required to be scored. Is that a way to win a league in your eyes, or do you have to have the Haaland effect? Let's say
Manchester City have Erling Haaland, and back in the early 90s, we had the likes of Alan Smith firing us to league titles and European Cup Winners' Cups. So you've got to. It's as simple as that. And in as much as it may be nice, Del, to have a lot of people picking up the slack when it comes to scoring you goals, it sort of begs the question, as a striker, do you not have that sense of urge to contribute a little bit more than you already are? Because any striker worth his salt, and the greats of old, forget about your Alan Shearers or your Harry Kanes. You can look to the likes of your Jeff Hursts or your Gary Linekers or even your Jimmy Greaves or what have you. They will tell you that there's no greater feeling than scoring goals. If you don't score your goals, you have that sickening feeling at the end of the day. in that you haven't done your job. And in as much as people may say, well, I'd rather see the team win without me scoring than me scoring a goal and the team losing. Yes, that's one more school of thought, but still, as a striker, your main job is to score some goals. So, Jesus, I'll give him some credit. He's not really a stupid bloke. He's played in the Premiership long enough to know what is expected of him. And I think one of the reasons why we signed him, Del, was to sort of prepare for our European runs and also a return to the Champions League. In his few seasons with City, he was quite prolific in the Champions League, about 20 goals in European matches. So he knows how to find the target in those big games, at least in theory. But he simply hasn't hit the target. Let's also not forget the impact of that terrible injury he sustained last season when he was on World Cup duty with Brazil. It took him some time to sort of find his way back. And as any sportsman will tell you, when you're coming back after a bit of a layoff and you're a little bit rusty, you've got to find your groove and then start again. So this season, it's going to be a make or break season for several players in the team, including some who I don't like, some who you don't like. It could very well be a make or break season for the likes of Gabriel Jesus. Because again, he has to really sort of decide, does he really want to be known for his goal-scoring exploits? Does he really want to contribute more? Yes, it is fine to sort of have that sort of a link-up play, but then when you have that link-up play and only score more goals, are you really that much better than Alex Lacathreat, for instance? So we need to make sure that our strikers start scoring more goals because we can't keep depending on the midfielders like Havertz, Odegaard, or what have you to keep finding the target. Obviously, Saka and Martinelli will score more than a few, but Jesus has to start pulling his weight. And again, people are going to say, well, as part of the system, Arteta has a plan, and part of his plan means that other people should share the workload when it comes to the goals. But then goals do make a difference. Haaland is a perfect example of that. Yeah. And of course, ashes to ashes and dust to dust. If Haaland doesn't score, then someone else must. It could be Bernardo Silva. It could be Kevin De Bruyne. It could be Jackie Grealish. And City also have goal scorers all over the park. But if you try telling Haaland that he doesn't need to worry about not scoring because other people pick up the slack, he will say, what in heaven's name are you talking about? I need to score some goals. I've got the number 9 on my back, and that is what I'm going to do. And Gabriel Jesus really needs to, piggyback off that and say, that's what I have to do.
Yeah, like he has to he has to come up with a few goals this season. If we're going to share the goals around, let's say, to like the likes of Odegaard, Saka, Havertz, Martinelli, stuff like that, that's fair enough. But you still want your striker a minimum of 50. If that's going to happen, you need your striker to have a minimum of 15 plus goals a season. Because Martinelli, I don't have the stats with me now. I'm just sort of going off the top of my head. I think he had about 12 goals, roughly around that, and a good lot of assists. Saka pretty much in around the same as well. And then you need your striker to bring that up to 15 up plus. So you're talking, there's your 45 goals, what Haaland's going to get you, know what I mean? And that's not including the rest of the Man City team. Your as you said there, Kevin De Bruyne and Jack Grealish and so on and so forth. I just want to go back on this comment here. Big up, Luke. Hope you're well, pal. A midfielder of Rice, Odegaard and Havertz won't work. Way too open. Partey has to play. Warren, agree or disagree with Luke there?
I 100% agree. Because Odegaard's weak and so's Havertz. So that means, and they're not going to help out with the defensive side of the game. That means that Declan Rice is going to have one hell of a workload on his shoulders if he tries playing those three together. And I think we'll end up getting overrun in midfield. I think the better thing to do would be to play Declan Rice and Thomas Partey together and have someone ahead of them. My preference would be Emil Smith-Rowe to play in the number 10 role because I think he's better than Odegaard. He's just had a lot of injury issues. If we can sort these injury issues out, I think that he will be a better bet at number 10 than Odegaard because I think he's scoring more goals. But yeah, I 100% agree with him. I can just see teams walking through our midfield if we play those three that you put on that message there together. I just think it's too weak, and particularly when if we're playing against a very physical side. Let's say we were playing Stoke or away, or Bolton or someone like that. A team that employs those sorts of tactics, we'd get absolutely battered.
It's like, do you even know where he's going to play Havertz? Like, everyone keeps saying it's the left-hand side. And Darren even just mentioned it there at the start of the chat. It was through the centre, I think, that he actually ended up scoring the goal last night. And I know it's only one goal and it's a friendly, I know, but we can just sort of go by what we're seeing at the minute. Where does he fit into the team? I'm honestly, I could think of one or two positions I'd put him in, but Arteta, the thing that worries me about this is, and I'm given, unlike some people, negative people will just call them the Arteta outs or whatever. I'll give Havertz 100% backing. You know what I mean? I'm going to give him 10 games. In my head, I says, Dale, let's give him 10 games. Fair is fair. Let him have a go. You know what I mean? His price tag was big. I think we way overpaid for him because he didn't have a great time at Chelsea. If I'm maybe mistaken, they signed him for 65, 75 million. We paid 65. They've pretty much there or thereabouts got their money back in football terms. I know there's 10 million of a gap, but it's not really big in football money. But if we had Havertz, let's say bought him for 75 million, we'd get zero, just like we're getting rid of Pepe. You know what I mean? Who hasn't had the greatest times at Arsenal. But what worried me was Arteta was even said he's not sure of his position. Hold on, I'm sorry, you're spending 65 million, you're giving him 330 grand a week, and you're not sure where he fits into your team. Manny, am I going mad? And before I'm going mad, smack the likes up for me before I absolutely lose me shit. But Manny, please make sense of that.
Well, the only thing I can possibly say if I want to defend the fella is saying that he's keeping his cards close to his chest by trying to throw the press off his scent. If there's one thing about Mikel Arteta we've noticed is that he seems to have a penchant for, trying to be a little bit too cute or too clever. He only ends up coming across as being naive at the best of times, it has to be said. And I suppose the only reason why he'd want to say that is as well, because a little bit like Trossard, if you will, Havertz does bring quite a little bit of versatility into the team. The only problem is, I believe he was used as a striker or a false nine, as it were, because Aubameyang simply couldn't find a way to play. And before people start slagging him off, saying that he's finished, and I will probably say that maybe his Premiership days are now done and dusted, but he will do a job at another club elsewhere in Europe. The chaos that erupted, sacking Tuchel and then sacking Potter and all of the rubbish that was going on behind the scenes, it couldn't have really, been of any help to him. And also not being given his, given an idea of what he really should do and how he should play, because he did look quite good in training, to be fair. Maybe whenever he played, other teams had a plan for him, perhaps. But with Havertz, we saw him play as a striker. We saw him also in the midfield whenever Chelsea tried the 4-2-3-1 or what have you. And his goal output was just dreadful. And it's another case of him dining out on that Champions League winner for the last few seasons now. And it really begs the question, it's bad enough that we bought him, because at least when we brought the other Chelsea rejects who joined us, with the possible exception of William, even Gallas was decent. Cech was certainly quite good. Luiz and Willian did quite well at Chelsea, but then for some reason, for most of them, it didn't really quite work out when they joined the red half of North London from the blue half of West London. But with Havertz, one role I can see him play is definitely in the center of the three-man attacking midfield if Arteta decides to use the 4-2-3-1 formation again. Because I'll tell you what, Last season, when we used that formation, I think at the beginning and somewhere in the middle, that was when we played some really, really good football. Even now, you could definitely have a back four, whoever it may be. Rice and Partey can fit in as a defensive midfielders. I would certainly picture the likes of Odegaard, Havertz, and Saka. Or I mean, it could very well be that Odegaard could end up playing on the right, and maybe Saka or Martinelli on the left, and then Jesus could be that striker, and then there could be that sort of rotation. The only problem is we now seem to be enjoying playing a 4-3-3. I think I'm not frozen, thank you. We seem to be enjoying playing a 4-3-3 these days, and so we've got a situation where we don't know what midfielders we can have. And so if we do end up going with an Odegaard party and maybe Havertz formation in the middle as that three, then would that really suit Havertz? And what will that mean for the likes of Emile Smith-Rowe? I mean, of course, Saka and Martinelli will be quite happy because they can join Gabriel Jesus up front. But again, it'll remain to be seen. And Arteta now also has to sort of decide, does he go in with that 4-3-3 formation, which might leave him a little bit light in the midfield, perhaps? Or does he go back to the 4-2-3-1, where we actually played some really, really good football? Because we only started using the 4-3-3 to accommodate Eddie Nketiah when Jesus was injured. So I'd like to see us go back to the 4-2-3-1 and Jesus playing as the lone striker, because that will give him a lot more responsibility to start scoring goals again. And he was scoring a few when we were playing in that position.
Yeah.
So if we decide to adopt that formation, I would like to see Havertz in the middle, where he could possibly be a lot more dynamic and use his skills, with Odegaard on the left and Saka on the right. And Odegaard on the right and Saka on the left, or Martinelli on the left, or whoever. And that way you can also rotate and rest Saka whenever you like, give Martinelli his minutes. You can also bring ESR on as a replacement for Odegaard, keep freshening up the team, and just use that sort of formation, which worked quite well. But for heaven's sake, Mikel, do not even think about using the inverted defense again. It's bad enough you use it on one side. You try and do it on two. Yeah. You're just a glutton for punishment. Come on, man.
Exactly. But you know what? And I want to bring this up. Akers said it. I pray that Arteta has to start Trossard in every single game. He Arsenal's best attacker. And we haven't even mentioned him. And everyone's talking about Havertz on the left-hand side. Trossard, for me, from what I've seen from the highlights last night, he was absolutely brilliant. You know what I mean? So I just hope that I said it before. I think I was on TJ Warren's there. I think it was last week or something like that, and I actually said it on his show. Big up to TJ. I says that, like, you know, I have a feeling that Trossard is going to be the new Kieran Tierney here. I think he's going to be left out of games that he should be starting in, and you know, where I think he's class, he's top quality. If it's not working for Jesus, I'm sticking Trossard up front on his own. What you says there, if you're sticking him up front, I just think the guy can score goals. And his I think it was his second goal, second goal last night. The ball just came to him and he just flicked his foot really quick. That's agility. That's what I've been training the kids, is be fast, quick reaction. You know what I mean? And that's what a striker is. A fox in the box is that. Ball coming in, it can be bouncing anywhere. You can just get your foot to it any which way, get your head on it. That's what quick reaction. And for me, I've seen it last night. And look, we've seen it as he's played all of, let's say, January up till now. We've seen this glimpses of what he can do. I personally put him up there. If Jesus isn't hitting form after a few games and he hasn't been scoring, we have to do something. Because let's be honest about it, Arteta has to put on at least another challenge and run City up to about 2 or a game away to keep his job, in my eyes, because Man City are way out there. They're going to win the league. I don't think Arsenal win the league. But if we're talking about coming second, you know what I mean? He has to do something. He has to win something. You know, he has to go far.
I agree. He has to win something, and let's also not forget that we've got Champions League games. We've got also the usual FA Cup and Carling Cup. And here's the thing about the Champions League games: after all of the build-up that we've had, and after all of the talk about how we get to hear the music again, Arteta won't be that stupid to think that the Champions League games are just going to be some sort of a glorified, jolly for his players and the fans. No, he's going to want his players to put on the show. And again, in theory, that probably will be where Trossard will come into play. That's probably another reason why Trossard decided to leave Brighton and come to Arsenal. Because yes, Brighton are going to be in the Europa League, but as many of us will know, the Europa League and the Champions League are chalk and cheese. And the reason why I put Champions League as cheese is because I like my cheese. I can't eat chalk, you see. So there is still a part of me that thinks that Trossard and Tierney will have, if Tierney stays, they will certainly have roles to play in the Champions League when it comes to those big European nights. Trossard and Tierney, of course, are internationals with Belgium and Scotland, respectively. So that is where they should have some roles to play. And if Arteta is smart, he will make sure to rotate his players, because he shouldn't be so stupid as to play the Saturday team on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. I mean, if he is that stupid, then all that's going to do, mate, is increase the calls for him to be out. And those calls are going to become howls, believe you me.
Yeah, 100%. It's he has a squad big enough at the minute, but he has to cut it down to get rid of loan players and sell one or two players, obviously, but we have to have that rotation, all right, because we have, Champions League and all sorts of games coming up, the FA Cup, and I want to go far in these games, Central, big up, man. How are you doing, brother?
I'm good.
Good stuff. Nice and fresh, ready for the season to start, I hope. Mm-hmm. Plenty of appearances in Del Boy Gunners, fan reaction after game, yeah?
You had yourself a trim, haven't you, Central?
Yeah.
Short
Looking
back and
fresh. Looking fresh. Right, anyway, what's your thought on, let's say, talk about the Barcelona game so far, or pre-season in general? What's your thoughts? Are you excited? Be excited, are we one or two players short?
Want to play? Yeah, I think we need him. I heard rumors like Declan Rice got hurt in training. That's about man, we need another midfielder. We need another striker. I think we're still left short. I'm happy getting Rice and Timbers, but we need more meat on the bone.
We need a bleeding Forest. Never mind Timber.
I think going into the net. Going into this season, the 23-24 season, I think, man, I don't the Community Shield game. I don't really care about that. That's just a glorified soccer aid. If we win that, the super fan channel are gonna praise that. But anyway, we need to do well this season, man, because this is a make or break season for Arteta, man. If we win another season without winning a trophy, he needs to go, man. I feel like he's been in the job for 4 years. The club spent a lot of money in over those 4 years on players. Some players kind of cut the mustard, and others cannot get it.
Well, still got Central, can I just say this to you? Let you cut the mustard. How much games are you giving him? How many games are you giving Arteta before you're just done and then saying, that's it, we have to chop him now? If we go, let's say, and we take a bad start to the season, your first September, August, September, October, you're still floating around the mid-table. Do you have to cut him then, or do you just ride out the season with him?
I give him till... I say my original plan, give him till October. I give him till November. If we're nowhere near the same position as last season, in that second position, if we're crashed out in Europe, not just crashed out our group in the Champions League, but completely out of Europe, no Europa League football in the new year, and crashed out in the early stages of the FA Cup and the League Cup, because this is this whole thing is just a PR, and they don't this whole thing about a young coach and a young squad, and it's It's not like this whole got this whole young squad thing. Like after these fans says like give them time to gel. Like the only young player really is done well over the last 4 years has been Saka. Since then, like Smith Rowe is injury prone. You know, Charlie Patino. You know, people hype up that he's the next Fabregas is persona non grata. You know, he's a young boy, but you know he's like I don't understand this Miguel Inziz. You know, I haven't seen kick a ball. You know, I don't get. And what was it Odegaard? Like don't get me wrong about Odegaard. He needs to like step up his A game. Do the same thing what he did last season going into this season. If it's the same Odegaard when he first came to the club, yeah, time to go. But besides that, this whole like I don't understand why we need to use a youth project, you know, because I don't mind bringing new players in the club, but we want players who really like kind of done it, you know, kind of like the here and now. Don't focus on what's going to happen in the next 3 or 4 seasons. I want players who done it now, you know, like. It's good to have like Declan Rice. He's the player from the here and now. Timbers, you know, looks like he's also the here and now. Not like he's a player for he's going to do well in the next 3 or 4 years. We don't know yet. And I've got Martinelli. Martinelli, you know, is another player who's been in the Arteta reign. Who's been done it, you know. But like going back to Arteta, man, this has got to be. I give him till November, man. We need to like. This is like he's better not fuck around, man. Like so far we've been okay in this transfer market, you know. But most of the time in transfer markets, you know, we keep pissing about. You know, I hate that. You know, we're pissing about in transfer markets. You know, not getting the players done. You know, because we keep. You know, because sometimes our squad Sometimes this club makes our season like harder, you know, like it gets like I'm tired of this making our season very hard. Even though the league is hard, but I don't like. Sick of our club making our season keep harder and harder and harder, and keep making our squad shorter. Like I know you have to cut some players. Some players need to go, but you know we need more depth. We need some depth in that squad. You know. Like I said, we need that more meat on the bone, and that's my 2 cents on it.
Like, no, thanks a million. Like I'm gonna come to Warren on that. Like, you know, Central's giving them till November. Where would it go wrong for you? Like, what would make you? And I think I know the answer, but I'm gonna ask you the question anyway. How would you agree with Central there, or like, you know, if it's going pear-shaped by middle of September, October, are you been in them?
No, I've been in now. I've been in now 2 years running. He's bottled it.
Go, Warren, just 1 second. Don't mind me.
Okay, 2 years running, he's bottled it. Okay, he's proven that he's not competent as a manager since the day he got here. He should have been sacked God knows how many times in the time that he's been at this club. He's had more lives than Sylvester Cat. And it's just absolutely crazy. But the sad thing is, with nearly £700 million spent, I don't believe we're nearer challenging for a title than what we were when he was appointed. So he, I mean, let's be realistic about this. The reason that we managed to challenge for the title last year was because all our main rivals seemed to collapse. So this coming season,
can you see that happening, Warren? Like, can you see our rivals like going down, or like, you know, like
not 2 years running? No, I can't see that happening 2 years running. Because I've seen what Liverpool are doing in the transfer market. They look stronger. and Newcastle look like they're improving. United, they got a season under their belt with Ten Hag. I think is tactically light years ahead of our manager. And we've also this year got a Champions League campaign to consider, because we won't be able to get away with playing a reserve team in those games against the Champions League sides that we come up against, even in the group stages, because we're likely to come up against some quite strong opposition. So he's going to have to play good quality players in those games, and the squad's still is still really thin. So I think the problem is I can't see him being sacked. I don't think it matters how bad it gets. I just don't see him getting sacked. I think he will be allowed to continue on, and the excuse will be, oh, what did you expect? It's his first season in the Champions League. He needs to be given time, get behind the team, all this nonsense. The man spent near on £700 million. Not only should we be competing for the Premier League, we should be winning it. We should be winning the Champions League. We should be winning the FA Cup. We should be winning the League Cup. With that amount of money having been spent, it's just absolutely ridiculous that he's still not bringing trophies in. So no, I'd get rid of him now. The reason I'm saying get rid of him now is it will give the new guy who we get in 10, 12 games to look at what is in the squad, what he wants to keep, what he wants to get rid of, so that when we go into the January transfer window, we can go in. Because if you leave it till Christmas, but the guy's going to have about a week before the window opens, and it's not enough time to assess the squad properly to know who he wants to keep, who he wants to get rid of, and what he needs to bring in. So that's why I say do it now. Give the guy some time to work the current squad, see what he wants to keep, what he wants to get rid of, and build a plan for the January transfer window and start working on them targets. That's what I would do.
Yeah, no.
Because the guy's got no track record of delivering success. I just don't think he's got it in him.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Luke is just saying here, Warren is right. In all honesty, last year was probably our big chance. Watch out for the other top dogs this season. Yeah, look, I don't want to put a downer on things myself. You know what I mean? I just want to. I do agree with you, Warren. But the way things are now, I'm the type of person I'm. If you spilt, let's say, a glass of milk on the ground, what do? You don't just start pointing fingers and start blaming. Well, you done it, and you done it, and no, you. My reaction is no, just clean it up. Let's solve the problem there. Let's clean it up and get on with it. So I'm just trying to say
he is the problem. That's the thing, though, Del. I think he is the problem. That's why I'm saying clean it up, get rid of him, and get another one in. The thing is, Del, at the end of the day, they're not going to get rid of him because the fans will just accept whatever he does. So we just got to get on with it and get behind the team and support the team and just hope for the best.
Yeah, no,
because they're not going to. You're right, Del.
Yeah, I
that attitude that you've got is 100% right.
No, and the same as yours. What I'm saying is it's just I know they're not going to sack him, so there's no point in me screaming. No, whatever I do or anyone else does, they're sticking by him. They're after pumping serious money into this guy. He has to deliver this season. It's as simple as that. For me, he has to deliver a trophy. I think he knows that. But the problem I have with it, I think if he still challenges for the league like he did last year, he's still in a job next year. That's what I think. Because challenging for the league is like Wenger's finishing in top four as a trophy. Challenging for the league is now a trophy because Man City are the best in the world. And I keep saying it, you play them fucking twice in the league. That's all. You don't play them 5-6 times. You play them twice. So don't worry about playing them. You don't try not to lose. You try to draw. Fergie was unreal at it. You go to your rivals, go to their ground, you don't lose. Get the fuck out of there. Get out of there with a point. And that's huge. You know what I mean? That's what Fergie was unreal at doing. And that's what Arsenal need to do this season. Forget who this Man City shit is.
The thing is, I don't think it matters what happens this season. Even if we finish in the bottom half, right, which won't happen. But if they dare say they did, I think they still wouldn't sack him. Honestly, Del, that's what I think. I just think that he's on such a safe wicket that anything could happen and he'd still be in a job. I really do, because the fans aren't going to kick off. For some reason, he seems to be so immune from criticism. I don't understand it, because I don't understand why he's getting this protection. And I agree with you. There's no point trying to. I've gone down that road. I've tried to kick off, tried to keep complaining, and it hasn't worked. So we might as well just go with the ride, sit there, watch what happens, and then when it does all go tits up, we'll say, "Well, we told you. We've been telling you for 3-4 years, and it's not gonna change. Nothing. It's not gonna happen." I'll tell you. I'm gonna say it here right now. Arsenal will not win a major competition all the time. That man is manager. They're not going to win the Champions League. We're not going to win the Premier League. We might win the odd cup there and there, but we're not going to win the Champions League or the Premier League all the time he's manager, because he hasn't got the know-how to do it.
Look, Mane, let's put some positivity in this. I agree with Warren, and he's agreeing with me. But are we wrong to be sort of down and gloom and stuff like that? The season is starting in 2-3 weeks or something like that. Let's be positive. Is there something to be positive about in what you see so far in the signings that we have? And is there any more additions we need?
There's a reason, Del, that our dear friend Darren Sullivan said, "I'm not Arteta in, I'm not Arteta out, I'm jury out." And we all keep saying that the pre-season games are just a way of making sure the team gets into its groove and make sure it fine-tunes itself for the season ahead. And, with the transfer window we've had, I think it's fair to say that apart from Declan Rice, which was, the expected signing, I still think we massively overpaid for him. And there's always going to be a part of me that thinks that City pulled a fast one on us, put one over on us by saying, you know what, you want him, you pay through the nose for him. We'll get Kovacic from Chelsea, and we're still going to cook your midfield twice this season, or thrice, or how many times possible, depending on whether we catch up with you in the Cups or the Champions League. And with the transfer window we've got, there are a few players who are quite decent. Some of them do really have to convince me. And we can't make any real judgments based on, the pre-season games, because we all agree that they've got to try to find their groove. We do have the Emirates Cup. That's also pre-season. We've got the Community Shield, which, as our boy Central said, is more of a glorified soccer aid match. Although, the Charity Shield, Community Shield, over the years has provided some pretty decent games, I would say. So I wouldn't really go so far to call it that. But again, we can't keep putting our eggs in the basket of all of these games and say, we can well, we've got hope for this season. So we're not wrong to be all doom and gloom as of yet, because, you know, in the words of the biggest hope with an Irish connection is that, as Seamus Heaney once said, hope and history should rhyme. And yet these last few seasons, they simply haven't. So, doom and gloom is understandable. And I'm not really for any kind of toxic positivity either. I'm not going to be one of those people who will say that Rice will prove to be a very big hit, and the signings will all gel wonderfully and there will be a great deal of harmony in the squad, because we've seen right now that the Tierney issue could start bubbling over. And as you've mentioned, Trossard could also be another problem. What's going to be the situation with Eddie Nketiah and Fuller and Balogun? I think Balogun also, like Matthew Turner, was involved with the USA in the Gold Cup campaign. So credit to Connor for mentioning that in the Instagram chat, by the way. So Turner, who hasn't been given any game time in these preseason games, I think has probably been rested a bit. But there are probably going to be some issues come the start of the season. So no, we're not wrong to be all doom and gloom. But instead of, just making this sort of a decision that that things aren't gonna be good, all we can do is just look at each and every season at the beginning with an open mind and give the manager and the team a chance, like you and Central have said. A few games, maybe the first 10. We look at everything by November. We hold Arteta to the same standards at which Unai Emery was held, and say, if things aren't going well and the football isn't really that good, you've got to go. And I love Unai Emery for the job he's done with Villa. He's a terrific manager and he's proved that. But, the way things were going in the second season, there wasn't really any sign of, a recovery on the horizon. So he had to go. But what angers me, and I think Warren will agree with me, is that Arteta has not been held to the same standard. Sooner or later, everyone's going to have to realize we can't continue to do this, because there's going to be, the second half of Wenger's reign all over again. Maybe a few cups to sort of, add some dotted gloss to our trophy cabinet, but none of the major trophies, none of the big trophies, and it will continue to be the same thing all over and over again. All we can do is just wait and watch and have some hope. But of course, as we know, it is the hope that will kill you. So I'm not going to be completely positive, but I'm not being very negative. And hopefully that's one of the reasons why whenever we come over here, we're known as the realists. And yet, in the eyes of some of these top gooners, if we try to be real, we're toxic. Maybe you can make sense of that. I can't be bothered.
Yeah, look, I'm excited for the season to start, as in, because I just miss football, being honest with you. You know what I mean? I'm just dying to see Arsenal play again competitively. So
Arsenal over Ireland, I would imagine.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, and in all departments, Jesus, the way it is at the minute, But I was just talking about Trossard there, and I want to talk about him again because, I think we have an absolute serious baller on our hands here, and I don't think he's given the credit that he should be given. Central, is he going to get a chance? As much as the likes of, he's sort of on that left-hand side. So you have Martinelli, you have Havertz there now. He's up against it this season. Let's be honest about it. But I just think, I said it earlier on, I'd push him into that centre role. If Jesus isn't firing on all cylinders, get him up there, get him up, because he can score. What's your role for Trossard this season?
He's a winger. I think he's better on the wings. Like Arteta's not playing Havertz on the wings. I don't get the why he's playing Havertz as a central midfielder. He's not really a central midfielder. He plays as a forward, false nine, winger. That was kind of, I think I don't know what the word drinking when they decide to sign Havertz. Really, we're getting that man. But anyway, but Trossard, I think, I feel sorry for Trossard, man. We got him.
Yeah.
You thought for Trossard's mentality, you thought once he go to Arsenal, you thought we're gonna win the league with him. Unfortunately, that's not the case. I think he's been I think he's been misused. I think he's been misused.
Yeah.
I hate to be like negative, but it's kind of true. Like I think Trossard could like we might not win a game. At least it'll be something different. At least we has like at least he can really put the other like the opponent's defense under pressure, man. Like you got really to be frank, we got really we got a good attack. You know, like to be frank with you, you got like you got Saka, you got Jesus, you got Martinelli. I don't know if Pepe is still at the club. I like Pepe. I think he, you know.
Like, I'll just ask you the question on that because I think I said it to Manny earlier on, and it's like for Man City, they have Haaland scoring 40 goals, whatever in the Premier League, crazy 40, 45, 50, whatever it was. Like we don't have that as striker, but we have a good attacking. We have like Martinelli, Saka, Trossard, Odegaard scores, Jesus, and so on. Like, which would you rather? Would you rather your 40 goals, you're nearly guaranteed off the likes of Haaland, or your whole sort of attacking, coming up with goals and assists? Which would you rather as a manager?
I don't know. I feel like, well, man, I think like there's we're not gonna get like a four. I don't think we're getting like a 40-goal score striker anytime soon for the foreseeable future. But I feel like we still got some good attack, Like
I don't think any team can get a player like Haaland. Haaland is just a machine. I don't think there is a striker out there that would even come into the Premier League and score your 40 or 50 goals. The closest to him is probably Harry Kane. Would he come to Arsenal? No. Would I put a bid in for him? Would I put a bid in for him if we're going to bid 100 million plus for a striker? Yeah, I wouldn't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Where are you on that?
Harry Kane. I don't think he's going to Arsenal, man. I think he's going to Bayern. I think he's not.
No, it's no chance.
Wow, like you'll probably to be frankly, you might take the Saudi money, but yeah, I think like Harry Kane. I think like I'll be happy with Harry Kane, but like my mind, like my heart says yes, but my mind says no. Like like if we got Harry Kane, these top Gunners, they'll just like I hate the fans who really want us to win some trophies, win the league, will be happy if Kane goes to Arsenal. But the top Gunners will be in the polar opposite because he went to Tottenham, he plays for Tottenham. Who gives a shit? Sol Campbell played for Tottenham. He went to Arsenal. Trophies. It's like people go realize it's a trophy winning business. Harry Kane haven't won a trophy so far in his career, club wise and international wise. He lost 3 finals. I think it was 3 finals with Tottenham, the Euro final with England. He haven't got long left in his career. I think he needs to leave Tottenham, and it's I think like it's holding him hostage. I guess he's I know he's got he wants to be the one staying for the club for the rest of your career instead of going for a club for bags of money. But at the same time, it's they're not really having they're not really focused on a project. They used to plan for a project years ago, but unfortunately that ship has sailed. I think people are leaving. It's leaving the coop. I think if I was Harry Kane now, I think you run out of options. Do you want to win trophies or do you want to just break that Premier League record? I'd rather just if I was Harry Kane.
I think Bayern are strongly linked with him, and I think that they want him, Harry Kane. But I hope he does go because it weakens Tottenham big time. Warren, I just want to ask you this question. Declan Rice in an interview during the summer said that it's going to take time for himself, Odegaard, Partey, Havertz to form a bond and what's the word I'm looking for? On the pitch, you sort of don't even need to look. You just know the players there and stuff like that. How many games can that take our midfield to sort of gel together like that? How many would you think, like, you know, is it 5 games, 10, 15? You know, if that's the case, we don't have much time really, because we should be challenging, hitting the ground running if we're challenging for the league.
Yeah. See, I'm not sure that I agree with him. I'm not convinced that that's the case. I mean, he's played in England all his career, as far as I know. Kai Havertz hasn't, but he's been at Chelsea the last 4 years. So I mean, when Thomas Tuchel took over at Chelsea, he went into that club, and in the space of a week, he had them understanding exactly what they needed to do and how they needed to do it. So this is where the role of the manager comes into play, because I saw a documentary there today about Brian Clough, and they were talking about how he always kept things really simple. He didn't overcomplicate things, and he didn't try and make it really complicated, because they can't operate like that. So I think it's important that Arteta beds them into a system that's really easy for them to understand, straightforward, simple, no messing about, not overly tactically detailed, because this business with the inverted fullback, I just think it's asking for trouble. So many reasons, but if you're bringing in players from overseas, it could take them. I know I've seen in the past it's taken players a year, 18 months to settle into a new side before we start seeing their best out of them. And this is what concerns me, that why is he saying that? Because he's been playing in England for all his career. So football should be a simple, basic game, not complicated. Delboy, I'm sure you don't try and stand there when you're coaching your kids trying to make things complicated. You just say, you play in midfield, you play in attack, you play in defence. When you got the ball, pass it to the other fella's feet. Don't just hump it up the field or whatever it is that you're telling them. I honestly don't. I think I know you well enough to know that you wouldn't do that.
No.
Do you know what I mean? So, if that's what he's doing, it shouldn't take very long. It should be just a matter of a few games. And this is why the pre-season is so important, that all these players are in the team. And it's why it's so important that you get your signings through the door quickly, so that you've got all the pre-season to prepare for. And that's why I'm so happy that we managed to get seemingly most of our business done early, because it gives them a chance to all bed in, get them used to what Arteta wants them to do and play in the system that he wants to. Whereas in the past, that hasn't happened. And when the season started, we looked undercooked. Whereas this season, I expect when the season starts that we're going to be looking cooked and ready to go. Do you know what I mean? And I don't understand why he's turning around and saying that. It seems a bit weird to me, given that he's played in England most of his career, and so all the other ones that he's talking about, except Kai Havertz. And he's been here for the last 4 or 5 years.
These are players that are playing in England, you know what I mean? They're playing the Premier League. They know the Premier League with the likes of Havertz, Rice, you know what I mean, Odegaard. It shouldn't be that long, but I do get where he's coming from, you know what I mean? Because they still don't know each other as players, and I was hoping that these pre-season friendlies, that's where you're getting you're getting gelling in together, you're getting to know each other, like, as players as well. So I'm not giving it too many names.
It's not like they don't know the language either. It's not like there's a language barrier because all of them speak English. Right? Kai Havertz will. Declan Rice is an English speaker anyway. And Martin Odegaard will speak English because they've been here a good couple of years. So it's not, the language barrier isn't going to be an issue.
Yeah.
So it's about understanding the tactics and the way the manager wants them to play. So that's why Arteta's role is really key. And he needs to make sure that he keeps it simple and easy to understand. Whether he'll do that, that's a $6 million question, because I've got concerns that he's not going to do that. You know how he likes to overcomplicate things and overthink things. That's the concern. But it shouldn't take that long. They know the league, they know what it's like, they know the opposition. So, it shouldn't really be an issue. And like I said, by the time the season starts, it should be fine. But whether it will be, I don't know, mate. But like I say, I don't understand why he's saying it. Did he say about how long he expects this to go on for? Or did he just say, we need time to bed in?
He just says we need time, like, to gel in and stuff like that. Like, Mane, what's your thoughts on it, mate? Like, as like, let's say the position that Arsenal are in at the minute, Rice, Havertz, Odegaard, Partey as well, I suppose. How long does it take them to gel in? They're all Premiership proven players.
I'm so glad you asked me that question to come to me, because I was actually just about to cut in, but I'm really grateful now that you've given me my chance to talk about this. And there's a wonderful Irish and Scottish connection, so both you and Warren are going to love this. I am reminded of a wonderful interview which Eamon Dunphy did with Graham Souness for that head-to-head series on, I think it was the Paddy Power Sports Channel, I'm not too sure. But obviously that was when Dunphy sort of started to move away from RTE. He interviewed the likes of Mick McCarthy, Robbie Keane, and a few others. But that interview with Graham Souness was a big eye-opener. Souness, of course, actually started his career at Tottenham, but never really was able to get a look in because of the players that were in the team at the time. A few of them, of course, were World Cup winners, I believe. So he went on his way to Middlesbrough, where he was coached by a certain Jackie Charlton, who pretty much applied the same philosophy with Middlesbrough as he went on to do for the Republic of Ireland. No faffing about. You need to be in the inside of the tent, urinating outside, and not outside the tent, urinating in, as he would say. And just, that simple sort of football, lumping it forward. But perhaps the biggest eye-opener was when Souness went to Liverpool and starred in that team which won 3 European Cups alongside Kenny Dalglish, Ray Clements, and that company. He went into that team knowing that he was playing alongside a bunch of winners. And, the style of play over there was train the way you play, come in hard, do whatever you need to do, and just make sure you give everything in training. But I think the sessions might have been short enough to make sure that, the team were just psyched up enough during training to know what they had to do during the game. You might know the whole thing. Brian Clough was the same, and as Warren will tell you. And on one occasion, when Souness went to Fagan or one of the coaches, I don't remember who, you might have to watch that video if it's still on YouTube. I recommend you do. It is a must-see. I think Souness went to one of the assistant coaches and asked him, it must have been Fagan, I think, asked him, Coach or Gaffer, I've come over here and I see these players playing. I'm not too sure what my role is in the team. What do you want me to do? And the coach said, son, bugger off. Don't ever ask me a question like that again. We brought you here to Liverpool because we believe in your ability and we think you know your role. You know how to play. So you need to make sure you find that out and make sure you know what to do. And the rest is history. And he learned quite quickly. I think it's fair to say that with a large number of these managers trying to be, as I said earlier with Arteta, a bit too cute or a bit too clever, it may be a little bit difficult to sort of get to grips with the tactics immediately. But I think Warren's hit the nail on the head. Rice has played in England for most of his career, and several others have played for a long period of time. They all speak English, and let's not forget, Rice has also played against Arsenal long enough to know the style of play that Arteta likes to use. And Warren, good to have you back. And I think Warren has said it perfectly. And if you watch that video with Eamon Dunphy and Graham Souness, you'll get sort of an idea. Managers are just going to want their players to know their responsibilities, to know what they have to do, to learn quickly as they see it, and then just go out and produce. Because why else would the clubs pay you that much money if they didn't believe you would adapt to a system? I mean, of course, we paid about 65 million bob for Kai Havertz. And yet Arteta, trying to be a bit clever and cute, just keeping his cards close to his chest, saying he doesn't know what role Havertz will play. He probably will expect Havertz to know his role. And most of these players who we've purchased have Premier League experience. They've played against us. They might be familiar with our style of play. They may be familiar with Arteta. So it shouldn't take them long to really adapt. Personally, I think what Rice said is another smokescreen, because he will, of course, know Ramsdale and Saka from his time with England, of course, and he will easily get to know a lot of the boys. And, this particular pre-season should be a chance for them, as I said, to get into their groove and find out what for themselves, how they should play with each other and how they should make everything work. Of course, I mean, the joke was running around after the United game that Rice was a little bit undercooked, literally, you would say. So it's going to take some time, but it's not going to take anywhere near as long as Rice has said. So he's either doing what Arteta's doing and trying to keep his cards close to his chest and say, you know what, it is going to take some time, just get off our backs. Or maybe he's a little bit, dense, for want of a nicer sounding word. But I think they should, if Rice is... He's an England international. He was, of course, captain of the West Ham team, which won European silverware in his final game with the club. He knows the Premier League well enough. He's not stupid. He should be able to know his role and know what to do, and the others should know what they have to do. And Arteta will definitely make it quite clear what they have to do in the worst case scenario. So, I think Rice is just really it's a smokescreen. It really is. Simple as that.
Yeah, I'm hoping I think they're wise words, to be honest with you, Manny. I panic when I see stuff like this and I say, what the fuck is going on? Like, I just go from 0 miles an hour to 110. What? I have to find out why'd you say that. It's the same way in anything in life, you know what I mean? But look, I'm going to start with Manny. Please give us a shout out. What are you coming up in your channel? What are you doing? Looking forward to the rest of this summer off, or what's happening?
Yeah, listen, one thing which I'm going to do is sort of try and get the S. Featley TV channel back up and running. I am doing what I have to do, but I have also been, going through a lot of stuff personally. Coming on streams like this is another way of, coping, because I get to see all of your amazing faces again. I love talking to as many of you as possible, and I only hope, obviously you might feel the same way. I'm pretty certain Warren feels the same way. Central does, and several other people. And, just trying to get a few things in order, but you will see me out and about during this season. And it is good to have the club season back, although, to be honest, I've also been enjoying the cricket whenever I can. Shame about the result, and obviously the day's play has not been good, as Ken will agree. And Kenny will also tell you that we've been having a huge blast discussing the cricket on another channel, and you will see me doing some more work on that. Also doing a lot more work with other channels like Oris Talks Football and a few others. And I will be busy, but I'm also going to try and make sure that I balance things out a great deal. And this is something, of course, as I said, that gives me a great deal of enjoyment. You'll also see me active on Instagram and Threads, the new network. It's Manny Thangatherai 1981, and Twitter as well. Thangatherai 1981. I'm not so active these days, but I still try to put a few people in their place. And As always, it's good fun to be back. Thanks a lot, Del, for organizing the stream, and thanks a lot for sending me the link. I saw it a bit late, but you called. I came running. You know the drill. That's always the way it is with me. Big up to Central, and as always, big up to Warren. Wonderful to be in your company as always. I hope you're keeping well, and it's good to hear from you again. Big up to everyone in the chat. Thanks a lot for all of your wonderful compliments. You guys and girls are absolute ace. Love each and every one of you. Do enjoy this Friday. Have a good weekend. Enjoy some of the sports on offer. If you enjoy cricket, do hope and pray that we somehow manage to get a result against those Aussies. We cannot countenance losing the series 3-1. It's bad enough we've already lost the Ashes. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy yourselves. Don't do anything that the four of us wouldn't do. And now it is time for me to split. Cheers, everyone.
Good man, Manny. Thanks a million, mate. Thank you. Central, do you want to have a quick shout out to your channel and stuff like that?
Yeah. You can follow me on YouTube at Central Man Network on YouTube. I'm on 351 subscribers. My goal until April of next year is 1K. I'm gonna plug some content on my channel on this video, but looking. I was enjoying the World Cup, the Women's World Cup. England play tomorrow. Unlucky for the Irish women's team, crashed out of the World Cup.
Thanks.
Then, like in September, looking forward for the Rugby World Cup. I'll probably do producing a lot of rugby content. Probably do a predictions for the 2023 Rugby World Cup. And yeah.
No, fair play, mate. Thanks a million for dropping in. Warren, what do you have coming up? And
Well, Saturday I've got my match day live show. It's the final group games for the Scottish League Cup on Saturday, so I'll be looking at that. So I'm excited about that. As always, that show is always a lot of fun and excitement. So that'll be on my channel on Saturday from 2:30. I've got a show coming up, although I'm not sure when it's going to be. It's going to be on Diesel's channel. I'm doing a show about Jack the Ripper, which is it's been a real hard one to do because there's just so much information. So I'm going to be doing that. And then after that, I'm not really sure, but there's just a couple of things that, in addition, I want to say. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter and like Manny, that new Threads platform. And you can find me. The name there is Warren's Team Talk. And Instagram as well. I post quite a lot of stuff on there at the moment. And I just want to give big thank you to all the kind comments that I've had come in my way. I was in hospital the other day because they thought I had glaucoma. But thankfully, that's not the case. So I'm rocking and rolling. And I just wanted to say how sad I was to hear about the legend that was Sinead O'Connor. Absolutely devastated me. I was massive fan of hers, and it's really hit me quite hard, really, to be honest. So God bless her, and may she rest in peace.
Yeah, 100%, mate. 100%. I just want to I want to give a big shout out actually to Mossy across the pond Sports Talk. Big shout out to me brother. Check his channel out. He's a positive gunner, positivity all the way, and that's what we love. We're all good. We love each other. Big hugs for everyone. But yeah, I don't know. He's having problems with his chats and stuff coming in. So if any moderator banned him or something like that, unban him. We're all love here. You know what I mean? I just want to give a big shout out to Manny, to Warren, to Central for coming on. Really do appreciate it. Love hearing from you guys and everyone else in the chat. Absolute bleeding legends. Don't do this show for fucking nothing. I just do it for you guys and let having a bit of crack and stuff like that. But I'm excited for the season to start. I still think we need one or two little adjustments here and there. We need to sort of concentrate now when they get back to the UK. Start getting rid of a few players that we don't need. Try and sell mostly. The younger players, obviously, try and loan out. And then maybe bring in one or two more little adjustments to the team. And then let's go fighting for this Premier League title. Because, by God, us Arsenal fans, I think we deserve a league title, an FA Cup, a European run. You know what I mean? Let's go for that. I'll be positive, as I says, from the very start of the show. I'll be giving it, not only the players and stuff like that, but I'll be positive and I'm excited for the season to start. I'm going to probably do another live stream, probably Monday or Tuesday. I keep saying that, but I will. I'll do a call in, and I'm going to, if you're interested in coming on, actually, DM me on Twitter or Instagram. It's just Delboy Gunner TV. It's pretty simple. If you're interested in coming on as well, join Manny, Warren, and Central, and whoever else wants to pop in. We'll do a big show because I want to do something, predictions for the start of the season and stuff like that, and where we think Arsenal are going to finish, where we think other teams are going to finish, and who has done well on the transfer market and who hasn't. But look, I'm going to finish
Del,
this.
Before you finish off, last question. There's news of Crystal Palace making a bid for Eddie Nketiah. Do we take the money and run?
Oh my God, give him free. I'm offering this to any club in the UK, Saudi Arabia. He's getting me back, jockey back, and I'm lifting weights now, so I'll be well able to throw him on my shoulders. I'll give him a lift, and we'll walk to the fucking club. I don't mind. You know what I mean? Anything for Eddie. You know what I mean?
Let me come and help you then, yeah?
Yeah. I'll carry him halfway and you can carry him the rest, yeah? Oh, that would make my year, trust me, and give Balogun a chance. Give the guy a chance. I think we have a good player here that will get us about 12 plus goals in his fourth season in the Premier League, but hey ho, let's see what happens. But anyway, thanks a million. Please do just drop it, hit the like button if you don't mind on your way out. Really do appreciate it. And thanks again for everyone coming on and for all you guys in the chat. These are absolute legends. Take care and God bless you all.